Gold's rising value, a global signal we cannot ignore. Imagine waking up tomorrow to find that your national currency has lost half its value overnight. The money in your wallet suddenly buys you only half as much food, fuel, or medicine. The headlines scream panic. Banks restrict withdrawals. And in the middle of all this chaos, one asset suddenly stands tall: gold. This isn't a far-fetched doomsday scenario. It has happened before, in Venezuela, in Zimbabwe, in Argentina, and even in the modern stable economies. Gold has a way of quietly flashing warning signals long before the storm truly hits. So today, we're decoding why gold prices are rising across the world, what this surge means for global economies, and most importantly, what it could mean for you. Because gold is more than just a shiny metal. It's a signal, a mirror reflecting the fears, hopes, and struggles of our financial systems. This is Decoding Point. And today, we're decoding the system behind gold's rising value, a signal we cannot afford to ignore. Why gold? Gold's story is as old as human civilization itself. Ancient Egyptians buried it with their pharaohs. Empires like Rome used it to mint coins. Wars have been fought for it. And unlike paper currencies that come and go, gold has always been there, weathering the rise and fall of nations. Gold doesn't rust, it doesn't corrode, and it's limited. You can't just print more of it. This makes gold something humanity instinctively turns to in times of uncertainty. And right now, the world feels more uncertain than ever. During the US Great Depression of the 1930s, when banks failed, people lined up to exchange their paper for gold because they believed gold would survive even when the banking system didn't. But gold is not just about wealth or jewelry. It represents something far deeper: trust. The fact that every civilization across history, from the Aztecs in the Americas to dynasties in China, independently valued gold, tells us this metal plays a unique psychological role. It is as much a cultural artifact as it is a financial one. From temples in India to the vaults of the Federal Reserve, gold symbolizes permanence, continuity, and resilience. Over the past year, gold prices have reached record highs, climbing past $2,300 per ounce in 2025. That's not just a random spike, it's a global trend. Central banks, especially in countries like China, India, and Turkey, have been buying massive amounts of gold. In fact, central bank purchases hit their highest levels in more than 50 years recently. In 2023, China added more than 200 tons of gold to its reserves, signaling its desire to diversify away from the US dollar. Turkey's gold holdings also increased significantly, partly because ordinary citizens rushed to buy gold when their own currency collapsed. When central banks stockpile gold, they're quietly telling us, we don't fully trust the global system to stay stable. Three big forces are pushing this surge. 1. Inflation and currency weakness. Inflation has been eating away at the value of currencies worldwide. Even in developed economies like the US and Europe, inflation levels haven't been this high in decades. Gold becomes a natural hedge, a way to protect purchasing power when paper money loses value. 1. Geopolitical tensions. Wars in Ukraine and the Middle East, strained US-China relations, and fears of global fragmentation all drive investors towards safe havens. And, historically, there's no safer haven than gold. 1. The fragility of trust. Money itself is built on trust. Trust that your banknote is worth what it says. Trust that your government won't default. But in a world where debts are climbing, currencies fluctuate wildly, and digital risks loom large, that trust is under pressure. Gold doesn't rely on trust. It simply exists. Take Weimar Germany in the 1920s. The government, crippled by war reparations, printed money at a dizzying rate. The result was hyperinflation so extreme that people used wheelbarrows full of cash to buy bread. A lifetime of savings became worthless overnight. But gold, a physical asset with intrinsic value, held firm. It wasn't tied to the government's printing press. For those who held it, it was a tool for survival. a shield against the complete collapse of the currency. Look at Argentina, a country caught in a recurring cycle of economic crises. With its currency devaluing again and again, families turned to gold jewelry and coins as a way to preserve wealth. In 2023, inflation in Argentina hit over 200%. Families who held pesos saw their money evaporate. But families who held gold, often in the form of heirlooms, still had buying power. It became their de facto savings account, one the government couldn't touch, or Venezuela. In 2016-2019, its currency collapsed so badly that salaries were often paid in food baskets, not money. The formal economy simply ceased to function in many areas. Gold dust, literally specks of gold, became a medium of exchange in small towns. People carried tiny scales to weigh out payment for essentials, a stark demonstration of money returning to its most trusted form when all faith is lost. And the 2008 financial crisis. Banks collapsed, markets plunged, and fear spread. Investors fled to gold as a safe haven because it has no counterparty risk. It isn't a promise from a failing institution. As central banks printed money to prop up the system, the rush intensified. Between 2008 and 2011, gold prices nearly doubled. That surge wasn't random. It was a reflection of fear and a global vote of no confidence in the paper-based financial system. We can go further back too. During the Roman Empire's collapse, when silver coins were debased with cheaper metals, trust in currency vanished. Emperors were essentially diluting the money supply to fund their spending. The public wasn't fooled. Ordinary citizens began hoarding gold, believing it was the only store of value that emperors couldn't manipulate. It was a silent rebellion against a failing monetary system. This reverence is also cultural. In medieval Japan, gold leaf was not just decorative but symbolic of divine stability. In the Ottoman Empire, sultans measured their wealth not only by land but by gold treasures locked away in palaces. This hoard was the state's strategic reserve, a tangible symbol of the empire's endurance and a projection of unshakable power. The 2020s have brought a perfect storm, a global pandemic that shattered supply chains, record levels of government debt, geopolitical conflicts reshaping trade, technological disruption creating both opportunities and vulnerabilities. In India, record-high gold prices have shifted cultural behavior. Families buying gold for weddings are buying smaller amounts, but they aren't abandoning it. In China, citizens have turned to gold bars and coins because of collapsing trust in their housing market. In Europe, investors shaken by the Ukraine war moved billions into gold-backed funds. And in the US, younger generations skeptical of crypto have shown renewed interest in physical gold. In Africa, gold has also become a survival tool. In countries like Sudan and Ghana, small-scale miners depend on gold for daily trade, bypassing collapsing local currencies. Rising global prices mean their livelihoods fluctuate with every ounce traded. And in Turkey, inflation forced families to store savings not in lira, but in small gold coins called quarter gold, often exchanged at weddings. It's a reminder that in fragile economies, gold isn't luxury, it's survival. What if gold keeps rising? For centuries, it's been a symbol of wealth. But what happens when its value doesn't just climb, but explodes into uncharted territory? Scenario 1. A warning signal of crisis. If gold skyrockets past $3,000 or $4,000 per ounce, it's a global vote of no confidence. This suggests investors have lost faith in currencies or bonds, likely due to rampant inflation or geopolitical instability. They're fleeing paper promises for a tangible asset. In this world, gold isn't just an investment, it's a safe haven, an emergency brake signaling that the conventional financial system is cracking. Scenario 2. A rebalancing of global power. A sustained gold rally could redraw the economic map. Nations with large gold reserves, like China and Russia, would gain more leverage. This is a key part of de-dollarization, where countries use gold to bypass the US dollar in trade. The dollar's dominance might weaken, leading to a multipolar financial world where power is no longer concentrated in one place. Scenario 3. Everyday impact. The ripple effects would be felt in our daily lives. Rising gold can mean more expensive jewelry, turning cultural mainstays like wedding rings into unaffordable luxuries. The impact also hits technology. Gold is a critical, non-corrosive conductor in high-end electronics. Your smartphone, computer, and advanced medical devices all rely on it. A price surge means higher manufacturing costs passed on to consumers, signaling deep financial turbulence. Scenario 4. The digital twist. Imagine your digital wallet is frozen during a crisis. With the rise of central bank digital currencies, a government could theoretically restrict your funds with a single command. In this hyper-digital future, the ancient appeal of physical gold becomes more potent. Gold, held physically, is an asset you control completely, offline and outside the digital system. It becomes the ultimate fallback when your digital wealth is no longer truly yours. Scenario 5. A global freeze. Picture this. A massive cyber attack knocks out banking networks worldwide. ATMs go dark. Payments stop. In the initial chaos, how do you buy food or medicine? People would reach for something physical, tangible, and recognized everywhere: gold. Small coins would become a trusted medium of exchange for essential goods, allowing local commerce to function while the digital world is in ruins. Scenario 6. A family's story. This isn't abstract. Imagine an ordinary family in Turkey or Argentina watching their savings shrink as their currency collapses. To survive, they convert what little they have into gold coins. This isn't an investment, it's preservation. Those coins become their lifeline, a tangible shield against hyperinflation, protecting them when their salary is worth less every month. Multiply that by millions, and you see why gold's rise is not just economic, it's deeply human. Scenario 7. The dollar collapse. What if the world's most trusted currency, the US dollar, suddenly lost credibility? America's debt levels are at record highs. If confidence in US bonds weakens, foreign governments might start selling their vast holdings. This could trigger a vicious cycle. Bond values would plummet, interest rates would spike, and the dollar would weaken. In that chaos, global investors may flock to gold, creating the largest surge in its value in modern history. Scenario 8. Global Gold Rush 2.0. Now imagine a surge not just by investors, but by ordinary people across the world. Panic buying could strip markets bare of physical gold. Sold-out signs would appear everywhere. Black markets would emerge, and sophisticated counterfeits, like gold-plated tungsten bars, would spread. Gold would once again become a currency, circulating hand-to-hand, but this time on a global scale, reshaping economies in ways unseen since the 19th century. The hidden layers of gold. Beyond the vault, gold is a silent workhorse of the modern world. It's essential in technology not for beauty, but for its properties. As a superb conductor that never corrodes, it forms critical connections in our smartphones, satellites, and medical devices. Each device contains a tiny amount, but with billions made annually, rising gold prices ripple across industries, forcing a balance between performance and price. It's also deeply psychological. Unlike a stock or a digital number, you can hold gold in your hand. That physicality makes people trust it more, a tangible reality that abstract assets can't replicate. In times of crisis, when faith in financial systems wavers, people instinctively turn to gold as a safe haven, a flight to safety rooted in millennia of experience. In countries with fragile currencies, citizens often buy gold not because they want to, but because they must. In places like Turkey or Argentina, it's a personal hedge against rampant inflation. In India, the relationship is even deeper. Gold is more than wealth. It's tradition, dowry, and security rolled into one. Passed down through generations, it often represents a woman's primary financial security. And gold has an environmental and ethical side. Mining it is resource-intensive and often destructive. To produce a single ring, miners can move over 20 tons of earth, often using toxic chemicals like cyanide and mercury that poison ecosystems for decades. As demand rises, tensions increase in gold-rich regions, pushing operations into ever more fragile territories. In Peru and parts of West Africa, gold mining has caused deforestation, pollution, and violent conflict over control of resources. In the Amazon, it carves scars into the rainforest. In the Sahel, it funds armed groups. The human cost is immense. So, when prices rise, it's not only a financial signal, it's also a trigger for environmental and social struggles in the world's most vulnerable corners. Gold also has a hidden role in global diplomacy. When sanctions cut nations off from dollar-based systems, gold often becomes the silent fallback. Russia, for example, increased gold reserves to bypass reliance on Western currencies, and China is doing the same. This isn't just diversification, it's a geopolitical chess move, a quiet declaration of economic sovereignty in a multipolar world. At the same time, debates around digital gold, cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, highlight humanity's search for alternatives. But the comparison is fraught. Bitcoin is volatile, its history short, and its value based on belief in its code. Gold's value is rooted in a 5,000-year history, backed by both enduring belief and tangible industrial demand. It has outlasted empires and currencies, a time-tested anchor in a world of constant change. Decoding the signal gold doesn't create wealth, it preserves it. When its price rises, it often means not that the world is prospering, but that people are scared of what's coming. Gold's rising value is like a smoke alarm. It doesn't cause the fire, but it warns us that something is burning. And the louder that alarm gets, the more urgent the danger. Gold's rising price is not just about investors or jewelry markets. It's about the state of our world. It's about how much trust we still place in our systems, our governments, and our future. When you see gold climbing, don't just think of it as numbers on a chart. Think of it as a mirror, a reflection of the anxieties we'd rather ignore, but cannot escape. So, what do you think? Is gold's surge just another cycle? Or is it a warning of storms ahead? Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you see gold as a safe haven, or do you believe the world will find other ways to secure stability? I read every single one. Today, we decoded why gold's rising value is a global signal we cannot ignore. But this isn't an isolated story, because gold's surge is tied to deeper vulnerabilities in our financial systems. And that connects directly to another question we explored. Are we one step away from another Great Depression? If you haven't watched that video yet, go there next. The connections will surprise you.